Hi, Oscar. Let's take a look at this set of essays you've written us. School subjects. Let's see. The pie charts illustrate the distribution of percentages of subject preferences amongst New South Wales students in 2014 and 17. In 2014, the most preferred subjects by students were geography, mathematics, and physics. Each of their numbers don't use the word numbers because we're actually talking about percentages here. If you're looking for a synonym for percentage, then the best word here really is figures, okay? So each of their figures were 28, 27, and 19% respectively. Really? Let's take a look at that. Is that right? Well, not exactly. We've got 27.7, 27.3, and 19.4. So, what did you say? Okay, you could have said approximately. That would have been a better word rather than 28 and so forth. Okay. Conversely, the least favorite subjects, not ones. I'm not really a huge fan of ones here. The least favorite subjects were chemistry, IT, and history. The first one, yeah, you see, this is where you're getting into awkwardness here. The favorite ones, the first one, so no. Chemistry was preferred by just 1% of students, whereas the last two were on par with each other. Get rid of that A. And preferred by 1.2% of them. Who is them? Of students. I mean, I definitely appreciate your efforts to make this cohesive, but it's not really the most natural or the most fluid way to do this. So let's see, you said conversely the least favorites were chemistry, IT, and history. And then you could have said, while chemistry was preferred by just 1% of students, the last two were favored by 1.2% of the population recorded, or of those surveyed, you could have said. That would have been another nice expression, okay? Lastly, just above 13 and 9% of students consider biology and physical education as their favorite subjects. All right, so the good news here is that you've included all the subjects. That's exciting. So this way you can guarantee that you haven't missed any key information, so good. In 2017, the proportion of people who preferred biology almost doubled its previous figure. Again, it's figure and not number because these are percentages we're talking about and not numbers, making it the most favorite subject among 24% of students, while physics remained as the second most preferred subject with 21%. The percentage of students preferring history rose dramatically to 19%. Regarding the least favorite classes, you could have said, in this year they were chemistry, IT, and physical education. Don't even mention chemistry. It didn't even show up on this list, so that's not appropriate here. So although the numbers for IT remained consistent in both years, physical education tripled with a D, not an S, its number, its figure, or its percentage, reaching 9%. Overall, while physics and IT were constantly the most and least favorite, that's awkward, respectively, okay, you saved it, preferences for the other subjects fluctuated in both years. Okay, I'm not so sure about why you talked about physics. Let's see here. Physics was 19.4, so it wasn't the most preferred. Okay, clearly you've got two other subjects here that were preferred by more people, or a higher percentage at least. And the same thing occurs here. Again, it's not the highest because you've got biology, which outperforms it. So that was really inaccurate. And again, looking at it, this is also not true for IT because chemistry was the least preferred. So, in order to make this accurate, you needed to make a couple of changes. You could have said something like, while physics and IT were among the most and least preferred, respectively, okay, that would have made sense because they were consistent at least being high or really low. But to call them the most and least preferred is really inaccurate, okay? So be careful. Okay, I think we talked quite a bit about this and the problems it has with task achievement. So let's go now onto your task 2, which has to do with weddings. A wedding is probably one of the most important events in the lifetime of a person. Thus, experts in couples therapy and social connection, I don't know what that means, social connection, have debated whether spending significant amounts of money on these events is advantageous or disadvantageous. Although I believe its disadvantages outweigh the advantages, this essay will discuss both sides using empirical research developed by the London School of Economics. Okay, that sounds good. So, on one hand, ample evidence states that spending high quantities, IES, of money on weddings fosters social connection between married couples and their relationships with friends and family. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, it is widely known that people consider weddings a sacred oath between couples. Therefore, the more they remember, the happier they are together. Now, so far so good. But what you have to do is extend this idea about memory to money, because the way you phrased it here, it's not clear what money has to do with anything. So if you had said that statistically it is shown that the more money was spent on a wedding, the more people remembered it, then yeah, that would make sense. But you can't stop just there, okay? Because somebody could then turn around and say, okay, well, you could have a really inexpensive wedding, but it could be memorable because it was wonderful, it was joyous, it was whatever, okay? Secondly, involving people in this special, get rid of this E, event empowers those involved to the married couples in transcendent. Right, I don't know what happened here. Something strange happened. Let's try it one more time. Secondly, involving people in this special event empowers those involved with the married. No, that makes no sense. Grammatically, it's just wrong, and I don't even know how to fix it, to be honest with you. For instance, a research group from LSE followed 2 cohort groups of married couples. One group invested at least $20,000 on the weddings, while their counterparts spent less than this amount. After 2 years of follow-up, they found that the first group was happier and had stronger social connections with their friends and families than the second group. Therefore, it seems that spending a good amount of money is associated with better outcomes. All right, now there you did a good job. You linked this back to money, so that's good. On the other hand, though the LSE findings show that investing high amounts of money on weddings flourishes, that's the wrong word, not flourishes. It improves, it facilitates, it helps, it does a lot of stuff, but not flourish. Longer follow-ups of the same cohort groups finds the opposite. It should be borne in mind that long-term happiness and optimal social connections are definitely better and more important than transient outcomes. Okay, for example, the same LSE study followed their participants for 30 years and had opposite findings. Couples who spent less than $10,000 were the happiest and had better relationships with their families than their counterparts at 10, 20, and 30 years of follow-up. Thus, it's beyond doubt that spending too much money is rather deterrent. No, that's the wrong word. It's detrimental to the lives of couples. All right, now, while I like how you wrote this, I'm not really thrilled with the fact that you essentially used the exact same statistic, the exact same study. I think there were so many other things that you could have said here. You could have talked about how, you know, that couples need this money starting out in their lives in order to save, in order to buy a new house, in order to, you know, establish their lives together, and spending so much money on a wedding essentially puts some of their dreams on hold for a few more years, so that they can gain more money. So those would have been more relevant than essentially using the exact same piece of support from your previous paragraph. Okay, now the other thing that I want to talk about is, look at this. It talks about the benefits. Here, yeah, you did talk about benefits, I'd have to say. But the disadvantages, it really feels like you essentially just talked about one disadvantage. Okay? And that's not such a good idea because it clearly asks for benefits and disadvantages. All right? Plural of both, not just one of each. To conclude, due to the reasons and examples given above, it is clear that the long-term disadvantages outweigh the short-term advantages. It is predicted that people in the future will opt to invest their money on traveling and not on weddings. Okay. it's fine. It's fine. Although I'm never really a huge fan of introducing something totally off the grid in your essay in the conclusion. You never talked about traveling anywhere or the idea of spending money on other things. So I wouldn't have introduced it here. You could have just said that in the future people opt to invest their money on things other than their weddings, all right? And that would have been a little more appropriate, okay? So I think you have some food for thought here, some areas that need to be corrected and improved. So go ahead and get started on that. Let's see your next set of essays, and let's meet back here when you've got those ready, okay? Good luck.